Hello everyone, and welcome to my list of my top 5 favorite games of 2018. I didn't play a lot of new games this year, which is why some are re-releases, but I hope you enjoyed the video anyway, and I hope you all had an amazing year. Shenmue. Now I know what you're thinking. Shane, you monkey, that game is like 20 years old, you can't put that on the list. And to that, I have two things to say. 1. Fuck you. 2. While the game did initially come out 19 years ago, it was re-released this year on modern systems, and while I don't have that version, the game still technically came out this year, and this year was the first time I ever played the game, so I'm right, this is my list, fuck Alejandro. That makes sense? Good, let's talk about the game. So Shenmue is a very story-heavy game, and because of that, the gameplay is very slow, with most of it consisting of wandering around town and talking to strangers to find out where to go next and what to do. Now that may sound incredibly boring to some, but I found it incredibly fun and engaging, and I'm usually one of those people that can't play open world games without a freaking quest marker. But that isn't all of the gameplay, of course. The game also has combat, though it doesn't occur often, with most of the fighting being done with quick-time events. But what little combat the game does have plays just like a fighting game, most likely due to the fact that the game's creator, Yu Suzuki, previously worked on Virtua Fighter for the Sega Saturn. Apart from combat, the game also features minigames, my favorite of which is being able to play Hang-On on the arcade or on Ryo's Sega Saturn. The game's story, however, is nothing special, with it being your typical revenge story. However, what really makes the game shine is the way it's told, with the main character Ryo essentially being led on a wild goose chase that eventually requires him to leave his home country of Japan. Shenmue was a very magical journey that I was very glad I could go on. And now with the before-mentioned re-release, the game is much easier for everyone to go on that journey as well. Yakuza 0. What's that? This game didn't come out this year either? Well, I played the PC version, and, well, Doug, show him the screenshot. That's right, bitch, now shut up! So anyway, Yakuza 0 came out for the PC this year, and it absolutely blew me away with both its gripping story and fast-paced gameplay. The game is a 3D beat-em-up with some RPG elements thrown in, like character progression and side quests. The game takes place in Tokyo and Osaka, both with an open-world environment and plenty of bonus content and minigames. The game is an amazing story with even better storytelling, with parts of both Kiryu and Majima's stories eventually being tied together with the main story. With that being said, the game doesn't take itself too seriously either, with almost all the side quests being goofy and obscure, such as helping a dominatrix become more assertive and rescuing a young woman from a strange cult. I highly recommend Yakuza 0, and the series as a whole to anyone looking for a great action game with an intense story that's also downright hilarious. Fist of the North Star, Lost Paradise. Now Fist of the North Star is my favorite manga and anime series of all time, so you can bet I was beyond excited when this was announced a year ago. A Fist of the North Star game being developed by the same team that made the Yakuza series, this had to be great, and it most certainly was. As I said, the game was developed by the same team as Sega that worked on Yakuza, so the gameplay is identical to those games, but it was still a unique experience and finally did the legendary manga series some justice, as most Fist of the North Star games were mediocre fighting games or Dynasty Warriors spin-offs. The game's story is a retelling of the manga and anime, with some major differences and new characters and locations. Just like the Yakuza series, the game has its fair share of silly side quests and mini-games that will definitely keep you busy during your time in the wasteland. I highly recommend this game to fans of the source material, Yakuza fans, or even those who are just looking for a great action game. Dragon Quest XI: Echoes of an Elusive Age. Dragon Quest XI was my first foray into the 30-year-old series, and I have to say, it was quite the start, and I definitely want to check out the rest of the series someday. The gameplay is very reminiscent of that of old-school RPGs, a linear world map and turn-based combat, which I love. I'm usually not a fan of open-world games, as I usually find myself getting lost or jaded at the size of the world map. But luckily, this game has a rather large world map with a very straightforward sense of direction that never got me lost during my playthrough. Now, even though the game is linear, there is still a ton of stuff to do in this game, such as side quests, hunting down crafting materials, collecting mini-medals, and mini-games, which will surely keep you busy during your time with this amazing game. One common complaint I've seen reviewers gripe about is the music, which uses a MIDI format instead of orchestral compositions. I, for one, really enjoy the music, and thought it held this kind of old-school fantasy atmosphere. And I believe the main reason a lot of people say they don't like the music is because they've been spoiled by Dragon Quest VIII's symphonic soundtrack, which didn't even have such a soundtrack in its original Japanese release. So I think that if we got the same soundtrack for 8 that Japan did, people would praise the soundtrack for 11, but I digress. If you're a fan of RPGs like Final Fantasy or Shin Megami Tensei, I say definitely give this game a go. You won't regret it. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Sakurai, you fucking genius. I was super hyped for this game when it was first announced, and all of my expectations have been blown out of the water. Not only have all the characters from previous Smash games returned, the new roster for this game is simply fantastic, with the inclusion of Simon and Richter from Castlevania and Joker from Persona 5 being my favorites. The gameplay in Ultimate is the same as the other Smash games. A lot of changes, such as the ability to have stages merge with each other and being able to select which music tracks to play on a certain stage and so on. From what I've played, the game has been balanced far better than the other games in the series, with every character being at least somewhat viable in competitive play. One feature that I adore about this game is that both casual and competitive players can enjoy the game without either side feeling alienated, such as with other releases. This game is incredibly fun with other friends or yourself, and I highly recommend this game to anyone looking for a great party game to play with friends and family, or an intense fighting game that will keep you on your toes. Thank you for watching this video to the end, and I hope you all have a fantastic 2019.